Good afternoon, fellow patriots. This is Matt Shea, and welcome to Patriot Radio, broadcasting live from deep inside the heart of the future Liberty State. Brought to you once again by On Fire Ministries, in the legacy of Dr. Stan Monteith, bringing you the story behind the story and the news behind the news, where it's not about right or left, it's about right and wrong. It's about our hope not being in man, but in Jesus Christ. About not ending in prayer, but moving to action. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Father, deliver us from the evil one.
Welcome to Patriot Radio.
This is Matt Shea, and today on Patriot Radio, an act of war by China. Hezbollah agrees to a ceasefire. Europe bracing for World War III, and mass deportations are about to begin. Also, our guest today, Sheriff Richard Mack from the Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Association, CSPOA.org. Now we are on Patriot TV as well, so we welcome our Patriot TV audience. We are broadcasting 2 to 3 o'clock every Saturday and Sunday Eastern Standard Time, and we are here on Patriot Radio to bring you the information you need to know before everybody else, what's really going on, and how your family can prepare for the times ahead, indeed the times that are already upon us. But no fear, we were made for this. Today, you have an opportunity to get real-time intelligence analysis and real-time breaking news if you can follow us on Telegram. So here's how you can do that. The QR code, you can always scroll through. We try to make it so you're just reading headlines. And if you want to go deeper, you can click on the links. It's a great way to keep up with what's going on every day with real news that you can trust. Also, you can subscribe on Rumble at Patriot Radio US. Follow us on virtually every major social media platform out there as well. Now, that brings us to our Bible study today, and actually our encouraging word from the Word. Romans chapter 5, verse 4. Now, when you read this, some people kind of yawn, but they shouldn't. And not only this, but we also celebrate in our tribulations, knowing the tribulation brings about perseverance, and perseverance, proven character, and proven character, hope. Just because Donald Trump has been elected doesn't mean we stop. We need to persevere. We need to pray in reformation. And it's not just going to be one man or even two men. Trump and Holman, for example, they're going to turn this around. It's going to be all of us, especially at the local level. It's going to be county prosecutors, county sheriffs, and all of us standing behind them. They're going to help clean up not only the crime wave that's out there, but to disrupt these communist and jihadi organizations that have infiltrated terror cells here into the United States of America. So let's do our part. And let's make America have character again, because when we have character, there's hope. Real hope for the future. And we actually pass on freedom and liberty to our posterity. And that brings us now to your daily intelligence briefing, coming to us from the globalist front.
The future is built by us. We have the means to make progress on the global agenda.
So a couple of people that have advocated technocracy are now in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency, and it's kind of thrown everybody actually for a loop. Inefficiency and cutting waste would result in abundance and prosperity, very correctly, but where is this actually headed? And have some of the people that have been advocating technocracy actually changed their tune? It remains to be seen, but I'm actually very encouraged because a lot of globalists are coming against the Department of Government Efficiency, so that must mean they're on the right track. And now from the China front. The Chinese vessel Nunu Polar Bear, I don't make these names up, just reporting the facts here, destroyed the undersea gas pipeline Baltic connector between Finland and Estonia last year. And then now a Chinese-flagged vessel, Yipeng, appears to have destroyed 2 telecom cables connecting Finland, Germany, and Sweden and Lithuania. But the West is acting like nothing's going on, except for the fact that, and if we bring this map up, except for the fact that now Finland, Germany, Sweden, and Lithuania, at least 2 of those countries are saying that Europe needs to be prepared for war. That ship sailed right over the cables when they were cut at 8 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time on Sunday and 2 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time on Monday. It's not a coincidence. This is hybrid warfare, or what the Chinese called total war, that every area is a battlefield. And, 2 Chinese colonels wrote that book, Unrestricted Warfare. This is just part of it. But the fact of the matter is, if you're cutting telecom cables of a foreign country and it's clearly you doing it, that's not an accident. It's very likely an act of war. And that's why the defense ministers of Sweden and Lithuania said Tuesday they are deeply concerned by the severing of those undersea telecom cables, which is being investigated as sabotage. Also, Beijing threatens Taiwan as Taiwan nervously looks at President Trump. President-elect pressed Taiwan during his election campaign to spend significantly more to defend against the growing threat of attack, and he accused Taiwanese chip makers of stealing American jobs. Well, the bottom line is that a new chip plant has been opened and it is producing in the United States far more than expected, and that is a good thing. So friendshoring and bringing manufacturing back to the United States and defending Taiwan, I don't think are necessarily dispositive, and I don't think they're necessarily at odds. What I do think is that as we talk about beefing up defenses for Taiwan, it just makes sense to bring manufacturing here to the United States of America. But the Taiwanese are still prospering if it's a Taiwanese company, and they actually were bringing workers here as well. So perhaps that does need to be addressed in our immigration laws, which we're going to get to here in a bit. Also, dozens of prominent activists were sentenced to up to 10 years in prison on Tuesday in Hong Kong's biggest national security case under a sweeping new law imposed by Beijing that crushed a once thriving pro-democracy movement. Again, the United States gave away the Panama Canal, huge, gigantic mistake, unless you understand that it was part of the globalists taking away power and sovereignty of the United States of America. And secondly, Britain gave away Hong Kong. And now we're seeing what everybody predicted would happen, that was paying attention, that the communists would eventually fully take that over and turn it into a communist vassal, which it is right now. And really, it's just part of China now, period. That brings us now to the Middle East front. Now, Israeli forces are currently exchanging gunfire with several terrorists that barricaded themselves with within a building near the city of Jenin in the West Bank. I don't call it the West Bank. We're talking about Judea and Samaria. I'm just going to use those terms now, regardless of whoever does use them, because it's accurate. Now, this military operation that Israel has been doing in Gaza, has been doing in Judea and Samaria, and has been doing in southern Lebanon is successful at a price and is going to be ongoing. However, it does appear that Hezbollah has agreed to a ceasefire. A Lebanese official told Reuters on Monday that Hezbollah and Lebanon have largely agreed to a U.S. proposed ceasefire deal with Israel. This remains to be seen, because if it involves a withdrawal by Israeli forces from Gaza, tries to tell Israel that it cannot attack terror cells inside southern Lebanon, south of the Litani River, I very likely this will fail. We've heard this so many times before that they're ready for a ceasefire, when in fact that's just not the case. On the Iranian side of this issue, the Israelis have come out and admitted they attacked a facility that was being used to develop nuclear weapons in Iran. Now, Iran said, well, we're not developing nuclear weapons. So the Israelis are like, well, then that's not a nuclear facility. And now they're admitting actually that it is. Here is the issue that the Iranians have been working on acquiring nuclear weapons for many years, according to Sam Faddis, and I completely agree with that assessment. But we in the West have allowed that work to proceed. The Iranians are near the finish line, but now the International Atomic Energy Agency says Iran is just short and stepping back from, taking a technical step back from weapons-grade uranium. Well, why are they taking a step back now? Why is Hezbollah suddenly wanting to agree to a ceasefire? Because they want to preserve that program. The West cannot be stupid here. We need to understand Shia eschatology, where they believe that to usher in the 12th Imam, they need to take Israel out. So let's not be dumb here. Where we've ignored these things in the past, I think Donald Trump is on the right track. We need to pressure Iran, ramp up the campaign to cut off their ability to actually make nuclear weapons, which means we need to unleash Israel. I don't even know why Israel's on some kind of a leash if they're a sovereign country. That does not make any sense to me at all. And here's an example of the leash that at least the Biden administration tried to put on Israel. In a candid closed-door meeting, Prime Minister Netanyahu shared explosive details of alleged threats he received from U.S. leaders over the past year. President Biden, I want you to listen to this. President Biden called him before the operation in Rafah and warned, if you proceed, you will be left on your own. His response was, then we'll handle it on our own. Then, a few days later, Secretary of State Antony Blinken delivered a follow-up warning and said this, you will not receive any further military aid, to which Netanyahu responded, then we'll fight with our hands and claws if we must. We will not compromise on Rafah. So this should not, if Israel's a sovereign country, and also they're taking care of a direct threat to the United States from the Iranians, why are we getting in the way? Unless there are Iranian agents that are actually infiltrated in the United States government at the highest levels. Also, on kind of a cool picture, this happens once every 2,373 years. Mercury, Venus, and Saturn right above the pyramids at Giza. That's fascinating. Now, many people understand that pyramids of Giza, the Nazca Lines, Angkor Wat in Cambodia are actually a mirror of constellations in the heavens. The pyramids of Giza largely believed to be a mirror of Orion's belt, Angkor Wat, a mirror of the constellation Draco, and the Nazca Lines down in far, far South America, believed to be a mirror of constellation Aries, among other things. So, if you haven't ever heard that alternative archaeology, it's absolutely fascinating stuff, but I just love this picture and wanted to show that to everybody today. That brings us now to the Russia front. UK PM Keir Starmer lectures China's Xi on human rights after the UK jails a man for 20 months for posting supposedly hateful Facebook posts. Some might say accurate. Interesting how the UK tries to cover up its communist bent right now. Also, from WorldNet Daily, a terrible decision. U.S. warned of coming energy brownouts after Russia moves to block uranium exports. How about we just unleash small modular nuclear reactors, nuclear power here in the United States? Nuclear power and hydroelectric power are the best baseload power that we have, technologically speaking. Just doesn't make any sense. We shouldn't remove any dams. We should actually go toward small modular nuclear reactors in major industrial areas, use hydrogen fuel cells, and at buildings and residential houses. You wouldn't have any more power outages during catastrophic storms, or it would be very rare because the cables would be buried and there'd be no way for those power lines to be taken down because there wouldn't be power lines. This makes sense. Let's unleash the entrepreneurial spirit of the United States of America. When we come back from the break, looks like more sabotage in Europe, and Europe appears to be bracing for World War III.
Hey folks, it's your buddy John Rich here and co-founder of Old Glory Bank. Let me ask you a question. Why would you trust your banking with people that hate you? Well, you shouldn't. We're building a freedom economy, and now we have a pro-America bank. It's called Old Glory Bank. Check it out at oldglorybank.com and open yourself an account today.
Old Glory Bank is a full-service, FDIC-insured online bank with business and consumer banking and customers in all 50 states. It takes just 8 minutes to open an account at oldglorybank.com.
The Donor Deck represents a groundbreaking independent crowdfunding initiative driven by patriots like you to bring back our esteemed President Donald J. Trump to office. With unwavering passion, we pledge all profits from the sale to MAGA Inc. and Fight Like a Flynn PAC. The exquisitely detailed challenge coin is a timeless collectible to be passed down to generations. It symbolizes your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. Get your Donor Deck now. Go to the Patriot.tv store and click on Donor Deck. Enjoy the magnificent artwork and scripture on each playing card, knowing our appreciation for your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. You'll get this keepsake collectible challenge coin acknowledging your support for Donald Trump's run back to the White House, and the Donor Deck of 52 exquisite playing cards, plus a beautiful display case to show your challenge coin. Go to the Patriot.tv store and get your Donor Deck now.
And we're back. Reports of a malfunction at Finland's Loviisa nuclear power plant. Reactors 2 and 3 being shut down. Reactor number 1, the only one still left online. It just kind of, with this happening with these undersea cables and a Chinese ship going over them again on the heels last year of a Chinese ship doing the same thing, it just begs the question, has there been sabotage there at that nuclear power plant? We do not know that, but it does raise that question. Also, a Russian spy ship has been escorted out of the Irish Sea after it entered Irish-controlled waters and patrolled an area containing, guess what? Critical energy and internet submarine pipelines and cables. So it seems like the Chinese and the Russians do have a strategy to attack energy infrastructure and attack internet and data infrastructure. So we're going to keep our eyes on this, but anytime we see an event happen at an energy facility, we see undersea cables cut, we have to ask a question, the Chinese and Russians involved. And it's looking like this, again, is gray zone warfare, hybrid warfare, unrestricted warfare that is ramping up prior to World War III. And I'm going to get to that here in just a second. Putin approves lowering the nuclear threshold. President Vladimir Putin approved a new nuclear doctrine for the country Tuesday, lowering the threshold for nuclear strikes. The updated doctrine allows Russia to use nuclear weapons if attacked by conventional weapons. Hear that again. It allows them to use nuclear weapons if attacked by conventional weapons that created a critical threat to their sovereignty and their territorial integrity. Well, promptly, a day after the Biden administration and a couple of European powers said that they're allowing Ukraine to use long-range missiles, of course, the Ukrainians use a long-range missile to attack a major ammunition depot in the Bryansk Oblast of Russia, located 115 kilometers from Ukraine. So now the question is Russia going to use nuclear weapons? And right on the heels of that, you have clashes in Tbilisi, Georgia, starting between police and protesters over this recent election where there has been alleged fraud by pro-Russia elements. So, on the heels of that, the German Bundeswehr prepares companies for war. Well, that's an interesting comment that they say that on the day that Ukraine strikes Russia with long-range missiles that were just approved by the Biden administration in its lame duck term after Putin lowers the nuclear threshold. It's like we're trying to bait. It's not like. The Biden administration and several European powers are baiting Putin to use nuclear weapons. And then Sweden and Finland urged their residents to, quote, be ready for war, end quote, and sent them pamphlets regarding this. Now, we've reported over the last 8 months that there have been these gradual preparations and comments from defense ministers and high-ranking generals and political figures in these countries telling their residents to prepare for war. Do they know something that we don't? Well, it does appear as if they do, which is why Trump issued an emergency World War III warning, calling for an immediate ceasefire to be declared by Ukraine and Russia to stop the war escalating to nuclear Armageddon. Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. Also coming from Europe, and this is a legacy from the communist elements. They're still active inside Europe. This is a damning report highlighting the growing intolerance and violence against Christians in Europe. 2023, 2,444 anti-Christian hate crimes were documented across 35 European countries. So the red-green axis, so the legacy of the communists in Europe, but also the jihadi elements in Europe. These crimes ranged from vandalism and arson to physical violence and restrictions on religious freedoms. France recorded nearly 1,000 hate crimes last year, making it the most affected country. The incidents included the desecration of churches and cemeteries, with at least 84 direct attacks on individuals. In the United Kingdom, 700 incidents, a 15% increase compared to the previous year. What we're seeing is direct and systematic persecution of Christians in Europe, but it is not limited to jihadi elements. This is a legacy from communist elements as well, because communists hate Christians. They always have. Karl Marx started with this, and if you have never read his poetry, it is clearly satanic. And that brings us to yet another opponent of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and a critic of Vladimir Putin falls out of a window. This happens to be a famous Russian ballet dancer, Vladimir Shkylorov, who died at the age of 39. That brings us now to the national front. Trump announces he's going all in on mass deportations, and we're going to talk about that with our guest here in a little bit. National emergency declaration, the use of the U.S. military, and what's really going to be implicated are county sheriffs and county prosecutors not only helping to do these mass deportations, but also, and helping them go smoother, but also beyond that local intelligence of, and that local knowledge of the area of county sheriffs and county prosecutors, the disruption of terror networks that have infiltrated the United States of America, Jungle Tigers, Unit 910 from Iran, Muslim Brotherhood Special Section, and more. Cuba, Russian elements as well. So this is going to take a coordinated effort, not only from the national level, but all the way down through the state and local level. And by the way, Tom Homan, very clear on this, that it's a felony, and we'll get to an article on that here in a second. It is a felony to harbor illegal aliens. Also, this FEMA worker who was fired for instructing members to skip hurricanes victims' homes if they had pro-Trump signs, says she was instructed to avoid certain communities that were labeled political hostile territory by the Biden administration. That begs a lot of questions and demands an investigation. Also, and we've been reporting on this for several months as well, upwards of a dozen large drones were spotted tonight over Morris County in northern New Jersey, with them being filmed and tracked by law enforcement and fire officials. This comes on the heels of very clear technological breakthroughs in drone swarms. Here's an example of a drone swarm video. How do you stand against that? I mean, those are hundreds of drones coordinated. Well, there is technology to take those drones out using EMP blasts and some other classified technology as well. But the question is, are our military bases equipped with those so that these drones can't fly over them and conduct suicide attacks here, like a drone Pearl Harbor in the United States of America? I mean, this is a great question, and the Trump administration and Pete Hegseth should really address this from the get-go after inauguration. Also, Sean Diddy Combs had his prison cell raided. Handwritten notes were taken, apparently. Anyway, the bottom line is that the feds apparently they take handwritten notes to his lawyers, but there appear to be some instructions or something that he is giving to outside elements. That's why it was raided. It's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out. Also, a huge win. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court orders all county board of elections to comply with their ruling and stop counting illegal ballots, even though some officials intentionally said on air that they were going to violate election laws. And now the Bucks County board chair is saying, oh, that was just misinterpreted. No, it wasn't, actually. It'll be interesting, the investigation that's going to ensue on that. Now, here's the article about Tom Homan. Absolutely amazing. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Politicians in Connecticut have just entered the war against making America great again. Review Title 8 USC 1324. It's a felony to harbor illegal aliens. State and local leaders are about to be arrested on felony charges for harboring illegal aliens. You heard it right here first, folks. Yeah, he's taking a hard line on this, and he should. Again, the implication is, what are county sheriffs and county prosecutors going to do? Couple new picks in Trump's cabinet. Sean Duffy going to be the Secretary of Transportation. Matt Gaetz, there is a law that would allow him to be appointed as the Attorney General for 210 days and then renewed for another 210 days after that, regardless of whether there's an attempt by rhinos in the Senate to block his confirmation. Chris Wright, also appointed to Secretary of Energy, and we're going to just keep up on this as this continues to grow. Epoch Times doing a fantastic job of tracking this. And that brings us now to the regional front. I love the fact that people are understanding that the American Redoubt as a concept has succeeded, has been eminently successful. And outside of the Redoubt, but in the general region, Antifa and far-left extremists surrounded a Seattle public library to try to shut down a meeting of women. And this women's meeting comes a day before an appeals court ruling on whether the Korean women's spa must allow males who identify as women in the facility. But just what I'm taking from this video is Antifa's having a hard time recruiting people to join their movement. Again, it's looking like the money is drying up and the bodies are drying up for these leftists to try to do a 2020 again. Also, there is evidence of weather modification. Dane Wigington from geoengineering.org on Real America's Voice discussed weather modification, explains that storms can be modified and steered. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's happening with this, but I do find it weird that a bomb cyclone is off the West Coast right now. Suddenly, take a look at that. We don't have whirlwinds over this state very often. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, Patriot TV fans, feel like there's nothing on the radio for like-minded, intelligent people like yourself? Well, great news. Now you can stream Patriot TV on TuneIn during your drive to or from work. Whether you're stuck in traffic or cruising down the highway, you can catch every conversation from your favorite show hosts right in your car. No more mindless jibber-jabber. Tune in 24/7 on the road, at the gym, or wherever you are. Download the free TuneIn app now on Apple, Android, or your computer and never miss a beat. Patriot TV, now on TuneIn.
Now we have it. Kingdom Crunch.
It's important to start breakfast off with a power-packed punch. You want a complete amino acid score, good protein. If you turn the label over and look at the back of the box, there is no added sugars in either one of these flavors, either peanut butter or acai bowl.
Peanut butter has 11 grams of high-quality protein. Acai bowl has 8. Peanut butter has 11 grams of carbohydrate. Acai bowl 12. And both of them have good, solid fat content at 6 grams. Very filling, very healthy.
You will be fueling yourself with high quality fuel, starting off the day right. You can even use Kingdom Crunch as a snack in the middle of the day if you just have a craving and you want to eat something that is good for you. It has a crunch and doesn't have a lot of calories.
There you go. Diabetic friendly, keto friendly, paleo friendly, Kingdom Crunch, and
Child friendly.
And our guest today is Sheriff Richard Mack of the Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Association, CSPOA.org. Sheriff Mack, it's great to have you back on Patriot Radio today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Matt. In fact, I was just thinking, how long do you and I go back?
Yeah, probably longer than we want to admit. Yeah.
It's been a long time since you and I first met.
2007 or 2008, I think. Yeah, it's a long time.
Probably. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Trump won. We're there now, and mass deportations are coming. Tom Homan, very, very clear on it. Obviously, mass deportations implicates a whole bunch of things. Certain elected officials at the local level are saying that they're going to harbor illegal aliens, which is a felony. Tom Homan is saying, well, then those people are going to be arrested. This is where I think the sheriff comes in. So where should the sheriff really be looking right now? How should sheriffs be positioning themselves? What should they be thinking about right now in this time where mass deportations are going to become a reality?
Well, first of all, he needs to, every sheriff, he or she needs to look at any criminal activity that has happened within their counties and do criminal investigations against any and all public officials, especially in Washington, D.C., including the White House, who have already committed these types of crimes. Aiding and abetting illegal immigration is against the law and probably falls under the category of treason, especially if you wittingly, knowingly caused and helped illegal aliens get here. No, that is, this is the problem with Washington, D.C. They think they can do anything they want, just like this election council in Pennsylvania. They come right out and said, we don't have to follow the Supreme Court. We don't have to follow the rules and laws. And we're going to do whatever we want to get the Democrat elected. At least they're honest about their dishonesty. But these types of crimes need to be investigated. The illegal immigration, does anybody really think that the Trinagua gangs from Venezuela walked here 5,000 miles, that they walked 4,500 miles to get here into the United States? They did not. Follow the money trail, follow who benefited. And now look at these governors in Illinois, Arizona, and a few others, California, that said they're not going to allow the federal government to enforce the law. Because these people are so lawless and they're so criminal and they're so corrupt that they just, it's second nature to them. And why wouldn't it be? Because no one has held them accountable. The sheriffs of this country have got to hold them accountable. And one sheriff, at least in Pinal County, who will be terminating his 8-year tenure as sheriff, one Mark Lamb, has already investigated Alejandro Mayorkas, and it's sitting on the county attorney's desk waiting for his prosecution. So this has to happen, whether or not it doesn't. I don't care, and no one should, if Trump is in there and then these past criminals don't have to answer to their crimes. Of course they should. And sheriffs can do that. AGs in every state can do that. And it's time. The governors can also initiate this. This needs to happen, Matt. These criminals and this corruption needs a reckoning. And this is now. And we should not excuse these crooks because Trump got elected. Yeah, we're glad he did. And we hope that he's successful. But Matt, this deportation thing will not happen and will not be totally successful. I mean, they can always do some, but the sheriffs know the topography. They know the geographical layout of their counties. They know where a lot of these criminal gangs are already hiding out in their counties. Their intel is vital to this mission of deporting, and first deporting, as Trump has said, the murderers and gangs and criminals. Let's get them the hell out of here. But I also want to see it done to where innocent Hispanics are not included in this roundup.
That's right.
And I believe that we can do that, but especially with the help of the sheriff, who knows a lot of the people and a lot of the illegals in his community.
Now, you bring up a good point about county prosecutors. County sheriffs don't need permission to start prosecuting or to start arresting people, but they do need help with the prosecutions. And that's where the bottleneck has been in some places. They know where the cartels are. They know how the drugs are coming into the counties. They know where illegal immigrants are coming into the counties. The illegal aliens are staying. And then they arrest, but there is no prosecution. So that brings up a really good point here. How should the people, because right now there's a mandate with this election of Donald Trump, how should the people interface with their local sheriff and their local county prosecutors to help give them that backing that they're going to need to do this?
Well, let's not forget, and the people of America need to realize that they should become part of the solution. We offer that solution at cspoa.org. We ask you, each of you, to join our posse. Every citizen should join our posse so that we can train you to work with your sheriff's posse. First of all, the county attorney is elected in almost every county in this country. The sheriff is elected in 99% of the counties. They only report to the people. Do not abdicate your responsibility to someone else to see what the sheriff is supposed to be doing. He works for the voters. He works for the citizens of his county. He has no other boss. You're his boss. Make sure he knows what he wants from you, what you want from him. What is he supposed to do? That comes from you. We the people, the first three words of the Constitution. We are in charge. We appoint the sheriff every 4 years. He answers only to us, and we need to make sure that we're giving him what we want him to be doing. So then, if it bottlenecks with the prosecutor, then get a hold of your prosecutor and say, what are you doing? We voted in Arizona to really go after illegal immigration. It was a huge victory for us as American citizens and as Arizonans. And so get after your sheriff. Be nice and be discreet. Be tactful and say, what are our plans? We want to support you. We want to help you. We also want to work with the sheriff in making sure that we help him get the right people deported. And if we get the people working with our sheriffs, this is going to go so much more smoothly. It's going to get the right people deported, and it's going to cut back on mistakes. So, folks, let's let Tom Homan know, who I've already spoke with a couple of times. Let's let him know that we're here to help, and he's very close with some sheriffs across the country, including the one that big victory here in Maricopa County. Did you hear, Matt?
I did.
Sheriff, it's Jerry Sheridan. A new sheriff is in town, and he is a friend of the Constitution and a friend of liberty, and he's a friend of Tom Homan. And, we right now have the mayor of Phoenix saying she won't cooperate. The sheriff should be just letting her know, we don't care if you do or not. We will cooperate with this effort, and Phoenix is included in Maricopa County, and we definitely will go after the illegals that you and Biden have allowed into Phoenix. We will stop those crimes, and we know you won't, because you're a lawless person, and you think you can get away with anything. we will handle that. We will take it. Last time I noticed, Phoenix is in Maricopa County. So, well, I'm sure that will be taken care of.
That is just fantastic news, very encouraging. Nayib Bukele down in El Salvador really kind of set a precedent for cracking down on crime. I love his quote where people were saying, well, you're jailing millions. And he said, actually, I'm setting millions of people free because they can live their lives without the fear of the criminal element. But there's also another element here in the United States that kind of goes under talked about, and that is that there have been terrorists coming across and foreign agents coming across the southern border, members of the Jungle Tigers, the Special Forces for China, Unit 910 for Iran, special section of the Muslim Brotherhood have been coming into the United States. That's documented. When we crack down on illegal aliens, there is this element of taking care of terror cells that have infiltrated the United States of America. If you could explain that a little bit more as for everybody watching and listening right now. Yeah.
Of course, Matt. Of course they're here. And there's tens of thousands of international terrorist groups here as well. And they are absolutely cooperating with the cartels. In fact, that's how they get here. They go to Mexico, connect with the cartels, get permission from the cartels to come here. And yeah, folks, what do you think they're doing here? In fact, this is the thing. We cannot get complacent. We must be working with our sheriffs to make sure that they know that those international terrorist groups are here. They didn't come here to play tiddlywinks. And something bad is still going to happen. These people are very calculated as to when they're going to attack us from within. So let's be ready. And yes, in this roundup, this deportation, that includes, this isn't just for Latin America. This includes Russia, China, and the Middle East. Where they're from. They're illegally, they mean to do America harm, and we need to straighten down. If we need to make some of these arrests on these people, then absolutely, yes, that needs to be added to the list. And I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because it's a very good point. I went to training about the international terrorist groups about 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And the national intel officers presenting this, agents presented this, already said it was 100,000 just terrorist groups that were here years ago. Now, you have to know that that's, let's say they were wrong. Let's say there was only 10,000. Then how many are there now? Then that means there's at least 20 to 30,000. At the very minimum, folks, there's 30,000 international terrorists in America. How did they get here? The same way the illegal aliens got here from Latin America. They come through the southern border, and they did. And this is what this horrible policy of open borders has done to America. And now we got to catch up. We've got damage control to do, and we've got to catch up and get these people out of here, get them prosecuted, get them arrested, whatever it takes. But again, folks, this is up to you. Contact your sheriff and tell him you want him involved in this process, and you want him to get. You want your sheriff to get a hold of the federal government, Tom Homan's office, and those of you, Tom Homan is so busy taking calls right now from former sheriffs, police officers, and Border Patrol agents who want to volunteer and help get this done, because they know it's vital to the security of the entire country. All of us will benefit from this deportation process, but we've got to be involved in it.
Now, as a reminder to everybody listening and watching, we had J.R. Nyquist on a few weeks ago, and he broke the story about talking with the defector Stanislav Lunev about this strategy to invade the United States of America, using a similar strategy that Germany used to invade Norway in World War II, that they would come in under the guise of business. They would come in clandestinely into the country, and then at a specific time, those cells would activate. And that's exactly what they want to do here in the United States of America. So for your local sheriff and your local prosecutor, These are critical things. They don't need permission to do this. They can disrupt these terrorist cells on their own, of their own initiative. When we come back from the break, we're going to be talking about the 10th Amendment, the elimination of government agencies, and also are Republicans going to do the right thing?
Attention patriotic businesses. Do you want to see your sales skyrocket by selling your products or services to like-minded patriots? Well, if you're an advertiser who embodies the timeless principles of freedom, liberty, and patriotism, look no further than Patriot TV. Our viewers are responsive, economically active patriots who are committed to supporting businesses like yours that align with their values. For more information on advertising on America's new network of proud American businesses, email us at advertise@patriot.tv.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement.
I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I've noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle, about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
You know, if I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep. It's feeling with more energy, more get up and go, and it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
To try Cardio Miracle for yourself and get a special fan discount, go to the host page right now and click the link for Cardio Miracle.
And we're back with Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org. We're talking about now, will Republicans actually do the right thing? This is always the question. You know, you get a great mandate. Trump wants to do the right thing. He's trying to put the right people in place. But will Republicans actually support him and do the right thing at the state, local level, even at the federal level?
Well, I hope so. If Trump has to go around him, then so be it. There's not a rhino in this country that doesn't know this was a huge mandate for Trump. It couldn't have. It really couldn't have been any bigger. And I didn't think it was going to happen. I was pulling for Trump. I went to one of his fundraisers, the one in Las Vegas a few months ago, and I really believe in his picks. Most of them. There's a couple that I'm a little worried about. I know the farmers in South Dakota do not like Kristi Noem. I've met her before. I wouldn't have picked her, but maybe Trump knows her better and maybe something's there. I don't know, but she was not good on land rights and supporting farmers in South Dakota. So I kind of have a little bit of a bias against her. But I think for the most part, this is a kick-ass cabinet and staff that he's put together. And what I really like about it is it doesn't include any of the deep state people. And he made a couple of mistakes in his first term back in 16 and 17 when he was first elected. I think that if we look at this realistically, though, those rhinos are going to be left behind. And there's ways to go around them. And I'm sure that he will. He's got Johnson's support in the House. And I think that has been pretty much settled that it's gone Republican. And the Senate going that strongly Republican. I think these other people better jump on board. If they don't, I think it's going to be bad for them politically. And I'm sure Mitch McConnell doesn't worry about running again.
Right.
He shouldn't have run last time. But I don't care for him, and I never really have. And so every one of them knows there's a way to go around it. I want to see Matt Gaetz as Attorney General.
Me too.
I think he's going to be a butt kicker, and I want to give him a chance to do that. And there's a law that Trump can appoint him for 210 days, and they get in, and then he can do another 210 days. So let's see. Let's all see how he does. But I think he'll do very well. And let's let Trump be the president and let his agenda go.
Let
it work.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of his agendas is the elimination of all these government agencies. Vivek and Elon teaming together for this Department of Government Efficiency. And, Elon was saying, hey, we want to pare down the government to about 99 agencies. That's more than enough. But there's also the component of how are the states with the 10th Amendment going to interface with this shrinking of government to a constitutional level? And what can states be doing? What can localities be doing, particularly on some really controversial issues?
For heaven's sakes, the states will be free to run their own states. That's what this is about. God bless Trump in trying to abolish the Department of Education. And that's one that has been talked about the most. But for heaven's sakes, get rid of the IRS, revamp and redo the FBI. And I would highly recommend the Sheriff Mark Lamb be the director of the FBI. Stop having insiders in Washington or insiders in the FBI.
Amen.
Just change the name on the door. Get somebody in there that will shake things up and really revamp what they do. The FBI has become a political hit squad for whoever's in office, whoever's in power. And they've been doing that for decades. Let's get in there and get some trust back in these agencies that are supposed to be helping our country stay safe. And obviously, the people of America do not trust the FBI, do not trust the IRS, and it's time to get rid of these. As far as education, this really tickles me. Which state is so inept that they can't run their own education, which they're supposed to be doing anyway?
Exactly.
There's a Department of Education in every single state. But somehow we bow down to Washington, D.C. Why? Because they come into our states and counties, steal a bunch of money, and then say, we'll send you back 2.5% if you do what we say in your schools. Tell the federal government to shove it, and that's what Trump is going to do for you. You keep more of your money there that goes to the federal government. You keep all of it within the state. How is that a bad plan?
Exactly.
Wake up, state, and tell them, this is great. We should have been asking for this ever since Reagan promised to get rid of the Department of Education. The counties have departments of education. The states have it. If they can't do it, then get out of the way and let somebody else do it. But if I guarantee you, Arizona can run its own education, and I've seen it happen before, and we can do it. And for Trump to have the leadership and gumption and guts to do this, more power to him. God bless him and Elon and Vivek.
Amen. And I think one of the issues that needs to be brought up, I know Department of Education, I mean, we've been actually talking about this for over a decade together. I mean, on a couple of shows. Amen. That we're actually finally to a place where something can be done about it. But we're also very pro-life. If you believe that states should be deciding this issue, then why on earth are federal tax dollars going to fund Planned Parenthood? Just as a matter of principle on that.
Ding, 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 ding. You just won the $66,000 question. You are correct, sir. When Trump was first in, they actually had the chance to defund Planned Parenthood, and they didn't quite do it. This time, they better do it, and that should be the first thing on the chopping block. Why? Am I against abortion? Yes, but that's not the issue we're talking about. What I am against is government forcing all the taxpayers of this country at the point of a gun, and that's literal, because we go to jail if we don't pay this. Then, how is this appropriate for taxpayers to be forced to do that? It's a private club. It's a private company. It is not a branch of the federal government or any other government. Why don't they fund my organization, the CSPOA? If we had equal protection under the law and we were treated equally, they would have to fund my organization because we stand for Martin Luther King's civil rights. Was Martin Luther King funded by the federal government? No. Was the civil rights movement? No. was the NAACP? No. Then why are we funding this organization that is the #1 killer of unborn babies in just about the world? So we have no obligation. Look, if one of you wants to donate to Planned Parenthood, go ahead. But you cannot force taxpayers to pay for abortions for people we don't know, for a cause that we don't approve. And this organization is completely contrary to my religious beliefs and what I believe is the constitutional law of the land. And if the Democrats fight that, fine. That's up to them. But the Republicans should stand together on this and get this agency defunded once and for all.
Well said. Sheriff Richard Mack, thank you for joining me today on Patriot Radio. Really appreciate you. CSPOA.org, and keep up the fight. And I look forward to what's coming here in the next 60 days, especially regarding Tom Homan and cleaning up the country.
Thanks, Matt. We'll talk soon, brother.
All right. God bless. Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org. And in this final segment here on Patriot Radio today, what can you do? Well, you heard it from Sheriff Richard Mack. At the very local level, first of all, get trained at CSPOA.org and then go meet with your sheriff and your county prosecutor and join your local posse. Now, it could be under a different name, could be under some sort of emergency personnel group. It could be there's all kinds of names across the country, but essentially it is the sheriff's posse that helps the sheriff in crisis or in the event of needing to do mass deportations. So join your local posse, get trained up at CSPOA.org, CSPOA.org. And it's going to take all of us, not just one person in Donald Trump or even two people in Donald Trump and Tom Homan. It's going to take all of us to make America great again and to clean up what really has been the mess of the last 4 years. And if we're really honest, the mess of the last 20. So let's join the fight. And if you're a veteran, if you're a former Border Patrol agent, former police, this should be speaking directly to you. This is Matt Shea. Thank you for joining me today on Patriot Radio. May God bless all of you. He is making this generation the greatest one. The awakening is here. Keep up the fight.